Well, good morning. We're here on a Saturday morning with Tom Browne of Jarman Solicitors. We're the business continuity support team. This is probably our ninth event, and I'm really pleased that we've got Tom from Jarman Solicitors, who are going to be talking about employment law and the implications regarding furlough leave, working from home, and those who are working remotely. Tom, could you tell us a little bit about your talk in a bit more detail, please?
I can indeed. Good morning. On Tuesday next week, I'll be talking about how the public health emergency is impacting on employment law. A sort of general overview, and obviously it's very worrying times for all sorts of businesses and people. But obviously one of the key words that we're coming up with at the present time is furlough leave, something that people probably never even heard of up until very recently. But furlough leave is the big buzzword at the moment, and there's a huge amount of confusion about exactly what it is and how it works in practice. It's important to stress right from the outset that furlough leave is based upon guidance issued by the government. There's actually no statutory code or regulation setting out how it works, and because it's all based in guidance, it's very important to stress that it changes, and it's very hard, particularly for us employment lawyers, to give practical and clear advice, because we get the guidance one day and then it changes the next. There's also guidance issued by different people, whether it's from HMRC or the Treasury Solicitors or the Treasury Department, who actually write this stuff, and then it conflicts with one another. So it's very difficult to give clear advice. And one example was obviously how it impacts on employees' consent, whether an employee actually needs to give consent to going on furlough leave. So that's one big thing I'll try and help with. Also, I know people are very worried about furlough leave, in particular, how it impacts on annual leave and whether employees can take annual leave whilst on furlough leave, and also whether an employer can force an employee to take annual leave during a period of furlough leave. You've also got to think about the practical realities. If you're running a business and you obviously work has come right down, do you go for furlough leave or do you go for redundancy? There are practical considerations to think about there, because sometimes if you furlough somebody, you may be taking them up and over the 2-year qualifying period for pursuing a redundancy claim or an unfair dismissal claim. So something that I think employers may miss. Also, you've got to think about the practicalities of what's happened as a result of the public health emergency. And in particular, an awful lot of people are now working from home. So an employer can't just say, well, take your stuff and work from home and sign up on the computer. Employers' responsibilities still carry on. You can't just forget about them. You've got to particularly monitor them and ensure that they've got a safe place to work, and also the impact that's having on all of us with regard to our mental health is obviously a key factor. So how are employers addressing that? And then you also have to consider not everybody's working from home. There's obviously people still having to, key workers and essential workers having to come into workplaces. What are you doing to protect them? That's obviously another key area that you need to think about carefully. Also, there are going to still be tribunal claims. How are they progressing? Is the tribunal functioning? What exactly is happening in the court system? And to be blunt, it's not very clear. And we get different messages and how it works and which courts are working, because some judges are very keen for justice to be seen to be done, no matter what the situation is out there in the big wide world. So anyway, I'm looking forward to expanding upon all these subjects next week with you. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Tom. Really looking forward to it. And also thank you for stepping in at that very last moment. Really do appreciate it. Tom Browne is from Jarman Solicitors, and he will provide all of his details. So if you have any questions or queries, I'm sure Tom will be able to answer them. Thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to seeing you on Tuesday.